Well, hello, Mr. Mick. This is Russell Maynard, and I have presented to our department heads a presentation about straight-through processing and how that project is going. And I thought this is an update that you would also be interested in. So I put together this short recording for you to view, and then at your convenience, if you would like, we could set up a phone call to discuss it. Now, when it comes to straight-through processing, I've learned a whole lot of stuff. And here's just some of the things that I shared this morning with the department heads. It's no secret to you, I know, that this is highly sought after by some advisors. As a matter of fact, this is one of the things that Mr. Creekmer highlighted a good bit. And so it's something we strongly desire. At the same time, I think it's important to point out that when we bring up the term straight-through processing, I've learned that that has a myriad of meanings and various contexts, especially in our environment as the broker-dealer. There are some challenges that come there because we're independent and we're trying to deal with a whole lot of lines of business that have a lot of different requirements, so it makes some big challenges. Also, I've learned that CFD really is pioneering straight-through processing with DocuPace. DocuPace offers some forms of it, but as far as the independent broker-dealer portion, they're more limited, and they have a limited history upon which to draw. It's a fairly young company and still expanding, and so we're helping them in lots of ways as we are expanding this possibility. Also, our workflow is evolving toward straight-through processing. I have found some of the charts and the things that different things that have to be mailed or not mailed or whatever to be challenging to really comprehend, but I also understand that this is a step in the direction of straight-through processing. And then the one thing I thought you would be interested in is that I for sure can tell you that far more has been done on this project than has necessarily been visible to us as a whole. So that's really exciting, and we've made some progress. And so that's what I want to share in the rest of this presentation with you. I threw up this picture of the guys looking under the hood because it reminds me of what happens when a car breaks down. Most of us guys appreciate that we all go there and then suggest maybe we cut this or change that, or that has to be the problem, when it might be more complicated than that. And I kind of see this process that way. We have a lot of input from a lot of sources, but still a lot of confusion. The difficulty is, whereas the analogy for the typical broker-dealer would be having one car to work on, we are we're trying to develop a tool that can be used on many cars. So if you open the hoods of a lot of different businesses, and this part's bigger than that part, and that is required, or this use a different kind of bolt, or whatever might be the case. So that's kind of the situation that we find ourselves in. So our next steps for straight-through processing involve four major components. The first one is the starting point, or actually I believe it's also called starting point. Coming up with the companies we want to try to work with as our top priorities, and then establishing quick forms, which will be a transition from laser apps, and will cause some, I'm sure, challenges with that. Closely related, but a second piece, is the forms verification piece. It's a matter of a lot of research and determining what kind of answers are appropriate in which slots on the forms to allow you to progress forward with the process. Another big piece, and we've done a lot of work on this, and there's a lot of compliance questions wrapped around it, has to do with the e-signature. We are currently looking to a company called Signex, which provides a digital signature, but there are some challenges with that, and we're still working with that piece. And then the last piece is the eFax, and that's how things actually get dumped out of DocuPace to the company. So we have a long list of companies. Some will accept it, some will not accept it, some will accept it for some forms, and some will not accept it for other forms. Okay, so if we take those 4 parts and try to lay them into one of our current flows, we have the parts 1, 2, and 3. As far as helping us with the straight-through processing, all that will come to play here with the financial advisor. The hope then is to have that enter DocuPace and eventually end up going through eFax to get to the financial company. But here's our trouble. In order for us to signature guarantee, we have to have original documents. That means that some financial advisors excuse me, scan some things and mail some things, and that becomes confusing and burdensome. And so our issue is, until we can figure these parts out, the other things that we were talking about up here don't help us very much. Then when we come to the next line of business, which is the one with no signature guarantee, we still have our 4 parts involved, but again, we still come back to the financial advisor has to scan in some things, mail us some things, and so forth, or even mail things directly to the financial institution. And again, this is confusing, and it's also difficult for us because even the financial advisors that are currently working with us and are trained in DocuPace have kind of settled to a point, or some of them have settled to a point, that they will send us things through DocuPace that they want to get done very quickly, but other things they just stick in the mail and mail to us. And so our processing department has challenges on recognizing that, as far as, we have them identified as how we would expect that information to come to us, and then it comes a different way. So there's some issues there we have to work out. Now here is the brokerage flow. Very similarly, we have our 1, 2, 3 pieces. The one exception is here because we already have a established connection with NFS that where we can send forms over electronically. In this instance, we will not be needing the eFax because we have a channel already. However, we still come back to the very same issues on forms that have to be signature guaranteed, that we have to have the financial advisor send those originals to us, and then CFD sends out a large packet every day to NFS. So these are challenges we've been trying to figure out how to overcome. We learned that NFS has some resources on this, so we were having conversations with some of our connections there, and some things popped out that have made a change in how we're viewing things. We're talking to NFS about we have to do the signature guarantee and so on and so forth, and electronic signatures, and then they said, why are you doing that? And so, but because we have to do that, and then they came back to us to say, wait a minute, NF provides a signature guarantee before they send on transfer forms and so forth. We didn't know that. We assumed that we had to provide the signature guarantee, and we have been all along, but then the information came to us that NF does that. So that was a big piece. And then also another big piece has to come down to this electronic signature. And I'd like to take a moment to explain why this is important, because some of the research that we've been doing shows us and some of the compliance issues that we're having are that different companies are trying to use different electronic signatures, and then we can't prove it, thus we can't speak to it, and so forth. There's 2 issues here, though, however. There's an electronic signature, which is the lowest security basically can be just a photocopy or a copy and paste or anything of the customer signature into a form versus a digital signature, which is what we've been pursuing. The digital signature, what's important about it isn't so much the signing, but it's what's behind it. There are verifications done. They have to go through and enter information that only they would know to verify that we have had that customer sign the form. We've been assuming that we had to provide a digital signature and that we had to provide the signature guarantee. And what we learned in this message or in this meeting was that NF provides the signature guarantee on their stamp, and they're bigger and have better insurance. And that also NF accepts the lowest form of electronic signature. Some of this is puzzling to us as to why that's the case, but it has significant impact for us. At least what we're addressing right now is the NFS business, which is about a third of our business. So this is not the direct business, but the NFS business. So the impact is we put these pieces together that if the forms stay in DocuPace, and as is soon scheduled to be able for advisors to be able to deposit their checks that they get through a mobile device such as a cell phone, suddenly the need for financial advisors to send forms while we're in the brokerage workflow goes away. Secondly, as is also part of this process that we've gone through in the conversion, is that there is a check scanner being installed here at CFD for any checks that end up here. And also, we're told that then we do not need to signature guarantee because NFS is doing that. So suddenly, we don't have to signature guarantee, and then our daily package to NFS goes away. So then, on top of that, NFS comes to shoulder the responsibility for the signature guarantee. This is all new thinking for us. So if I can redraw it without some of the confusion, whereas before we had all these packages being mailed to us that we were mailing out, now mind you, we still have to solve these three issues, or at least the first two, as far as how to get the right forms into electronically for the advisor. But once they're in DocuPace, electronically signed, which means just a simple, anything except just a typewritten font is what NFS's requirements are. With mobile deposit, everything is electronic to CFD for approval, and if there's a check comes here, we can still deposit it. Everything's electronically transmitted to NFS, and then NFS signature guarantees it moves on, and we are then within reach for NFS business of straight-through processing. So here's some of the ramifications of all this. This means that we have straight-through processing for NFS business within reach. That is NFS business. Right now that's about a third of our business. We still have 2/3 of our business that is direct business, and we're having still many challenges on that side. But we thought this was great news. This adds a significant efficiency for CFD. We have a lot of time, people, and resources doing and redoing things in this line of business that suddenly it becomes an electronic. And the other thing is, it's just a big plus for the conversion. We did this conversion very well overall. We had some inaccurate coding at NFS as well as some really poor reports given us from RBC, and that caused us a lot of grief. But we think we've pretty much worked through those things, but we're to that point in the conversion where, probably we do, maybe a few advisors are going, why in the world did we do this? This is a huge benefit and a good reason to have done this conversion. As far as direct business is concerned, it gives us a rethink. As I mentioned, we still need the major pieces in place as far as to make that work, but it gives us a clarity. For instance, we're now asking different questions about signature guarantees. What do they mean by that? Do they mean they have to actually see the signature, or are they interested in the documentation behind it or the credentials behind it, and can that be sent electronically? So we're working on those questions right now. And then it also helps us set priorities for moving forward in the future. And then the one drawback is here that we have to solve, and that is right now we already have pressure for when advisors scan checks into DocuPaste. That starts a 24-hour clock that is pressuring our processing department to make sure that we get our part done on time. Well, when we add mobile deposit, and we've made everybody aware of it that's working on this, when we add mobile deposit, that pressure will go up considerably. So we've decided we're not adding mobile deposit until we can understand that process and be equipped to deal with it. So that's my update for you, and I'm going to set this up so you can see it, and then if you'd like to talk about it some more, we can. I'm really excited about the possibilities, and we hit a lot of brick walls on this process, but we're starting to overcome a few of them. And I know this is of interest to you, and so that's why I thought this would be a good presentation to point your way. Take care, sir, and have a good day.